Everyone knows that Jurassic Park's velociraptors are not an accurate representation of the animal that once existed. However, I think it would be interesting to compare the game's depiction in behavior, habitat, diet, and physical form to the real Deinonychus. If you didn't know, Steven Spielberg actually based his film's velociraptor off of a Deinonychus skeleton, but thought that velociraptor sounded scarier, so for this video I'm going to focus on Deinonychus for comparison against the game's velociraptor rather than the real velociraptor. The game starts off pretty strong by depicting this fairly accurately, especially compared to other dinosaur media. Often Deinonychus is depicted as roaming an open, arid and rocky desert, however its fossils have been primarily located in areas that at the time it lived were dense, humid tropical swamps. So the game's suggestion that 5% of its velociraptor's habitat be water and roughly 30% be forested is a good step in the right direction. However, a swamp is much more heavily forested and watered than that, and a real Deinonychus' habitat would probably look something like this. So the in-game Velociraptor's diet is extremely inaccurate, but that's by necessity of gameplay and in-universe rules, so it's not really a major negative point. But essentially they just eat goats unless you put them with other prey dinosaurs to eat, which you wouldn't because it's bad for your park. That said, in a more accurate pen over here, I've decided to depict Deinonychus as common real-life prey animals, Tenontosaurus and Zephyrosaurus, as Iguanodon and Archaeornithomimus, respectively. The Velociraptor has an unrealistic level of intelligence where it tests electric fences when angry, it can seemingly communicate ideas to its packmates, and in the movies forms friendship bonds with humans and opens doors. However, it is quite likely that Deinonychus in real life did possess some level of social intelligence, as they pack hunted to take down larger prey, and were found in groups of several different ages, indicating perhaps they stayed together as a family or something similar. Let's start with the obvious. Deinonychus had feathers, and the Jurassic World Velociraptor doesn't. Deinonychus was completely covered in feathers, and it's actually extremely closely related to today's dinosaurs, the birds. Furthermore, the Velociraptor is just a lot bigger than a real Deinonychus, which isn't small, but it's not as tall as or taller than a human. The only other inaccuracy that I can see with the Velociraptors is that their arms are facing downwards towards the ground. The real-life Deinonychus is actually physically incapable of doing this and had to hold their hands facing each other like they were holding a box permanently or something.